Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. Jackson. We're back with another video related to multi-step inequalities. In the previous one, we did variables on one side of the inequality symbol, and now we're bumping it up another notch to multi-step inequalities with variables on both sides. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
It's getting out of you, give me the window next to you. I'll make a coffee from the notes that you leave around the room. I'll pour for two, then rinse it off me.
Now, for multi-step inequalities, the end goal has never changed when it comes to inequalities. We're trying to isolate the variable or get the letter by itself, whether it's on the left side or the right side of the inequality symbol. So for number one, this is what I tell my students to do, and what I've told you in the other videos if you've watched those, is I always draw a line down the inequality symbol, separating the left and the right side. We want to focus on one side first, then the other side when it comes to simplifying. So that's what we're going to do in the first step. Let's simplify anything that we see that could be distributive property or combining like terms. So when I look at the left side of the line, I don't see distributive property. There's no parentheses, but I do see a pair of like terms. I have a negative 12x and a minus 2x that can be combined together. They're like terms. They share the same variable, in this case x, and those variables are raised to the same power. So for example, they wouldn't be like terms if one was x and the other one was x squared, but that's not the case here. So we can go ahead and combine these. Negative 12x minus 2x is negative 14x. And then I'm going to bring down that minus 15 because we haven't even touched it. And then we have the less than symbol that just gets moved down, and 55 minus 7x we didn't touch either. But then I'm going to focus on the right side. Is there a distributive property here? Is there like terms here? 55 doesn't have a variable. The other one does, so those aren't like terms. There's no parentheses. So we're done with step one. We've simplified it as far as we possibly can go before we start actually shifting the variables over to one side. Because as of right now, we have an x on the left side and an x on the right side. Well, it's hard to isolate if they're on both sides. So it doesn't truly matter which side you move the variable to, as long as it's isolated, whether it's on the left side or the right side. But I always steer my students towards maybe trying to deal with a number that's positive instead of having to deal with a negative. So how could I go about getting the coefficient or the number in front of the variable to be positive? So do I add 14x over to the other side, or do I add 7x over to the other side? And in this case, to deal with a positive coefficient, we're going to add 14x to both sides. So negative 14 plus positive 14, those are inverses or opposites, so those are going to cancel. Those go to 0. And we're left with negative 15 is less than 55. Negative 7 plus 4 is going to give us that positive coefficient that we wanted. And now notice how we have the variable now just on the right side. We've eliminated it from being on both sides anymore. So I'm going to draw that line again. And now let's go ahead and isolate this variable on the right side by itself. We always want to get rid of the number that's the furthest away from the variable, but still on the same side as it, which is 99.9% of the time the number that's being added or subtracted. In this case, it's the 55. So let's go ahead and subtract 55 on both sides. Negative 15 minus 55 is negative 70. These cancel. Those are inverses or opposites. And we're left with negative 70 is less than 7x. And then, well, 7's being multiplied to x, so let's do the inverse of that and divide both sides by 7. Negative 70 divided by 7 is negative 10, is less than x, and now x is isolated all by itself on the right side. Now, one other thing I have my students do is I don't want them to make a mistake at the very, very end and graph this inequality incorrectly. I always have my students move the variable from the right side to the left side in case that scenario happens to you and you have it on the right. I always have them put x first, and then the other number is going to go to the other side. But when you make that change, the inequality symbol is going to change directions. That's one of the inequality rules that you have to know. So our final answer is actually going to be x is greater than negative 10. And the reason that I do that is that there's a very nice trick for this, that way you don't ever mess it up, is this inequality symbol looks like the tip of an arrow. So if I was to make this look like an arrow, that means all of your solutions are going to be going to the right for your inequality graph. So we're going to put an open circle on our final answer, which was negative 10. So open circle on negative 10. And our inequality symbol was pointing to the right, which means these are going to be all of our correct solutions for number one. Now, if you didn't watch the previous videos, why in the world did I just put an open circle? All that means is that negative 10 does not make the inequality true. So if I plug in negative 10 here for x, this is not an accurate statement. Negative 10 is not greater than itself. So if you have the greater than symbol or the less than symbol, it's always going to be an open circle. But if you have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle. And you'll see that in other examples as well. So I'm going to make sure I have enough space here for number 2. So that is going to be, I'm going to put the final answer over here. It was x is greater than negative 10, and I'll just box that in. And now let's go ahead and make our way over to number 2. So again, we're going to draw our lines separating the left and the right side. I'm going to look at the left side. I do see that we can simplify a little bit here. We can combine like terms. We have 6x and 3x, so that's going to be 9x. And I'm just going to bring down the minus 27. That's everything that we can simplify on the left side right now. On the right side, I see distributive property for sure. There's a number directly next to the parentheses. So let's go ahead and do that first. Negative 4 times 8x, negative 4 times a negative 30. So that's going to be you have a greater than or equal to. We have negative 32x plus 120. And then don't forget that we still have that minus 8x that we haven't touched yet. But you can't just not do this part. Some people do the distributive property and then they forget to combine like terms. Well, we still have like terms. We still have to simplify the right side a little bit. So we have negative 32x and this minus 8x that can still be combined together. So we have 9x minus 27, that stays the same, is greater than or equal to, and we combine those, that's going to be negative 40x plus 120. So step 1's officially done. We've simplified both sides as best as we possibly can. And now our goal here is to isolate the variable and get it by itself. Once again, we want to try to deal with a coefficient or the number in front of the variable that's positive. So I can do that by adding 40x to both sides. Our 40s are going to cancel. I'm just going to write the work down here somewhere, and then I'll erase it later. 49x minus 27 is greater than or equal to 120. I'll draw our line here. And now let's go ahead and get x by itself. We're going to add 27 to both sides. 27s are going to cancel. We have 49x is greater than or equal to 147. And then our final step here, let's divide both sides by 49. And we're going to get x is greater than or equal to 3 for our final answer. So that's going to be a closed circle on 3 because it's at equal to that I just mentioned in the previous one. And our inequality symbol is pointing to the right. And remember that closed circle means that that number that's on that closed circle makes the inequality true. So if I replace this x here with a 3, 3 is not greater than itself, but it is equal to itself, meaning that that inequality is a true statement. Right? So that's it for number 2. So again, I'm going to erase this. If you need this work and you're jotting it down, okay, just pause the video, write these out because I need space for number 3. Right? I know it's crammed a little bit, but I just want to fit as many different types of problems as I possibly can for you guys. I don't want to give you like one problem and then you're supposed to like magically master all the different types that you see. So we had, what was it? X is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so let's write that up here. X is greater than or equal to 3. We'll box that in. And now let's go ahead and move down to number 3. So we'll draw our line again. On the left side, I definitely see distributive property right off the bat. Negative 1/4 times negative 8, that's going to give us a positive 2 back. Negative 1/4 times negative 12, that's going to be plus 3x. And then we're going to bring down the plus 4 there. Is less than or equal to, and then I also see some like terms here that can be combined on the right side. So that's going to be negative 18x minus 78. So we can combine like terms a little bit more on the left sides. We have a 2 and a 4, so that's going to be 3x plus 6 is less than or equal to negative 18x minus 78. So we've simplified both sides as far as we can possibly go. Let's go ahead and move the variables over to one side now. So we're going to add 18x. That way we're dealing with a positive coefficient. So these are going to cancel. And we are left with, I want to make sure this doesn't interfere with the webcam. So that's going to be 21x plus 6 is less than or equal to, let's see if I can squeeze this in here, negative 70, that's not going to work, hold on. Let me write it over a little bit. 21x plus 6 is less than or equal to, that should work now, negative 78. We'll draw our line again, and now let's go ahead and get x by itself. So minus 6 on both sides, those are going to cancel. We have 21x is less than or equal to negative 84. And now our final step here is to divide both sides by 21. 21s are going to cancel, and we're left with x is less than or equal to negative 4. We have the variable on the left side like we like. This is going to be a closed circle because it's an equal to on negative 4. And this inequality symbol is pointing to the left this time, meaning all of our solutions that make the inequality true are going to be on this left line. Okay, anything like negative 3, 2, 7, don't make this inequality true. That's the 3 problems I want to show you as examples. We have 3 problems I want you to try out on your own in the practice session. So let's go ahead and head into them. Right, it's time for the practice session now. Pause the video, try out these 3 multi-step inequality problems on your own, just on a scratch piece of paper. See if you can get it from start to finish and graph it properly. And when you think you're ready to go, play the video and see how you did. So I'm assuming at this point you're ready to go over the answers, or maybe you just want a little bit more practice or to watch me, which is totally fine, whatever best suits you. But let's go ahead and look at number 1. So we'll draw our line separating the left and the right side. I see distributive property on the left side of the line, so let's do that first. So 2/9 times negative 9 times positive 36x. So 2/9 times negative 9 is going to be a negative 2. 2/9 times 36, that's going to give us a plus 8x. And then we're going to bring down that minus 2 because we haven't even touched that. And on the right side of the line, we do have some combining like terms here. So negative 12x and a positive 15x are like terms. So when we add those together, it's going to give 3x. And then we're going to bring down that plus 36. But on the left side, we don't want to forget we do have a little bit more of combining like terms. So negative 2 minus 2 is going to be a minus 4. So we have 8x minus 4 is less than or equal to 3x plus 36. So we're done with simplifying both sides for the first step, and now we want to isolate the variable and get it by itself. Now again, I always want the coefficient to be positive, or if I can avoid a negative at all costs, I usually tell my students to do that. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides to get the variables on one side. So minus 3x, minus 3x. The 3x's are going to cancel. We are left with 5x minus 4 is less than or equal to 36. We'll draw our line. And now we want to get x by itself. So let's add 4 to both sides. So the 4's cancel. We have 5x is less than or equal to 40. And then finally, let's go ahead and divide both sides by 5 to truly actually get that variable isolated all by itself. So our final inequality is going to be x is less than or equal to 8, which means it's going to be a closed circle on 8. And all of our solutions are going to be basically the entire number line that we have here for the first one. So if you tried this out on your own and got it right, very, very nice job. Let's go ahead and make our way over to number 2. I am going to give ourselves a little bit more space. So again, if you need the work, pause the video, write it down. That way you aren't missing out on any of the work. So let's get rid of all this. And this was x is less than or equal to 8, and we'll box that in again. And then number 2, let's go ahead and draw that line. On the left side, we have combining like terms, negative 10x and that minus 4x. So that's going to be negative 14x. We'll bring down the plus 5. And then on the right side, we can't do anything. These aren't like terms at all. No distributive property for this problem. So let's go ahead and isolate the variable. I am going to add 14x to both sides. That way we have a positive coefficient. So we have 5 all by itself on the left side is less than negative 86 plus a positive 7x. And now let's go ahead and rewrite it over here. 5 is less than negative 86 plus 7x. We draw our line. Now let's get x isolated all by itself. So let's add 86 to both sides. 5 plus 86 is going to be 91, is less than 7x. And now let's go ahead and divide both sides by 7. The 7s are going to cancel, and we are left with 13 is less than x. But remember from the previous examples, for number 1, I think, variable, we want to move it from the right side to the left side, so let's go ahead and do that. But when that change takes place, you have to make sure the inequality symbol changes directions, and we're left with x is greater than 13 for number 2. So that's going to be an open circle on 13, and it's going to be going to the right because that's where inequality symbol is pointing, and that's our final answer for number 2. So again, let's make sure we have some space. This was x is greater than 13. And now let's move on to the last one. Let's draw our line again. The left side, we have some like terms. So negative 30x plus 5x is going to be negative 25x. We'll bring down the plus 60. Then we have greater than. And then on the right side, we have some distributive property to start us out. So negative 6 times 4x is going to be negative 24x. Negative 6 times negative 10, that's going to be a plus 60, and then we're going to bring down that plus 3x right for that. I have absolutely no idea why there was a grammatical error there, but we're going to roll with it. Okay, we have combining like terms still, so let's go ahead and combine those on the right side. We have negative 25x plus 60 is greater than negative 24x plus 3 is negative 21x plus 60. And now let's go ahead and move our variables to one side. So to avoid a negative, we are going to add 25x to both sides. These are going to cancel, and we now have a 60 is greater than 4x plus 60. And now we can get x all by itself. So let's subtract 60 from both sides. 60 minus 60, these all go to 0. We're left with 0 is greater than 4x. And now let's divide both sides by 4. 4's cancel, 0 divided by 4 is 0. And then we want to move the variable over to the left side, meaning our inequality sign is going to have to change directions. And our final inequality is going to be x is less than 0. So after all that, our final inequality is just 0. So it's going to be an open circle on 0, and our inequality symbol was pointing to the left. Okay, if you did all 3 of these and you went 3 for 3, very, very nice job on multi-step inequalities. I hope this video helped you out in doing it with variables on both sides, and we'll see you in the next one with some more mathematics. Thank you for taking the time to watch.
From miles away, that's getting closer every day. It's getting out of view, clear.